But let's shift focus onto the telecom sector. The Jio top subscriber additions in August have come out, but Bharti Airtel's market share saw a mild dip. To discuss this and more, and the Voda Idea AGR case, we have with us Gaurav Malhotra, who's the Executive Director at Axis Capital, joining in. Gaurav, hi, welcome to the show. Well, let's start by talking about Voda Idea. Considering it's at an 8-month high, the stock surged in yesterday's trading session. It's gained around, 17% this year. There's a lot of optimism that the UK Prime Minister is in Mumbai right now. So give us a sense in terms of how you're approaching Vodafone from these levels.
See, our published view on Vodafone is reduced, right? And on all the reasons which generally everyone knows of, right? That there are just too many imponderables around the AGR issue, the cash flow situation, etc. The fact that the debt has not been raised. It's now more than a year and a half since the equity fundraise had happened. So see, there are these pockets of bouts of excitement with Vodafone Idea, right? Around news flow of anything which happens around AGR. But, there are just too many variables. So ideally, we should just wait to see what actually happens, rather than get too excited on any of these news flows, because these news flows keep coming and going.
All right. Hi, Gaurav. Good morning. Good to see you. And Nigel on this side. If someone is tempted to play a Vodafone, would you advise them actually to play Indus Stars? The reason I say that is because if Vodafone survives, then they get their money. If Vodafone, gets taken over or something else happens, anyway, those stars will have to be taken over by someone. Your view on Indus Stars? Yeah.
So see, on Indus, we have an ad, and precisely on a couple of reasons. One is that obviously, the valuation is quite supportive. So while there are obviously issues or uncertainty around Vodafone, those are sort of getting reflected in the valuation. And second is that from a FCF yield perspective, the stock is quite attractive. Right. So in a way, yes, Indus is like a lower beta play on what happens with Vodafone. So yeah, if someone really wants to play, then maybe that Indus then becomes the better way to sort of play that.
What about Bharti Airtel? The leader and perhaps the only clean play in the telecom space right now, as against the other one being a conglomerate. It's lost a wee bit of market share. Again, nothing really to worry. It's a very transitory thing. Structurally, are you bullish on Bharti Airtel even at current valuations? Are there any risks here?
See, so we are quite positive on Bharti, right? This is one stock where you're getting a very good visibility of really good and healthy growth in the coming 2-3 years on the back of tariff hikes, premiumization, the shift, the FWA traction, etc. So we quite like the stock. Obviously, it has run up. The valuations are not cheap, right? Because if you look at it versus global averages versus its own history as well. But the way we are thinking about is that, look, like I said, from a earning visibility, it is good, right? It has started to increase the payout, right? Given the free cash flow generation. And that free cash flow generation is only going to keep increasing in the coming few years. So from that perspective, there are enough sort of triggers on Bharti for us to remain positive. The subscriber data, like you rightly said, is transitory, right? It comes and goes. And end of the day, what is more important for Bharti is how much of their own existing subscribers are sort of upgrading to 4G, right? Rather than, getting too fixated on what is the net addition of the subscriber. That's important, but the organic upgradation of 2G into 4G is also quite important from Bharti's perspective.
So apart from ARPU, what are the other metrics that you would track for this upgradation? Is there anything that is
data consumption per user data consumption that keeps moving up, right? So that tells you postpaid subscribers increasing, right, in a proportion that keeps moving up. Once a year during the annual report, the company also gives you some indication of Airtel Black, which is their converged offering, right, which they're quite focused on. So those are the 2-3 sort of variables one can sort of look at to see what's happening on the premiumization trends.
What about Jio? Strong market addition, market share. How is that placed in your pecking order?
So see, because Jio cannot be played in isolation, so it has to be played within Reliance. But from a results perspective, both Bharti and Jio will have roughly similar kind of results, right? They're sort of in the same boat. plus minus. So there's not really much to sort of pick one versus the other, especially when it comes to results and operating and financial performance.
All right. What about the ARPU hikes that you're working with for 26 and 27? Could you quantify it?
Yeah, so we are looking at around 10 to 12% hike in effect sometime between, say, December of this year and June of next year. The idea is twofold. One is that, look, if you see, the quantum of hikes has been reducing with every subsequent hike in the last since 2019. But the transmission has moved up quite substantially. So the first hike had only, say, 50-60% of the hike transmitted into ARPU. The last hike had almost 90 to 100%. So these operators don't really need to take a large quantum of hike to reflect reasonably in their ARPU. And so hence we expect like a 10 to 12%. And even the timelines between hikes is sort of reducing. So the last hike, there was a 2.5 year gap. We expect it's going to be 1.5 to 2 years, and hence we are looking at December 26 to June 27 kind of a time frame.
All right, and just to wrap it up, back again to Jio, because in the annual general meeting there was this plan of separately listing Jio as well. So have you done any maths on what it could be valued at right now? And if Jio has to create value for shareholders by listing separately, then the pricing discipline and disruption in the industry would be a lot more smoother. So to that extent, that could be a positive for Bharti too. So valuation on Jio and the impact of its listing on the telecom tariff discipline.
So see, in our Reliance Industries SOTP, we value Jio roughly around $120 to $125 billion of equity value. So which is around 13.5, 14 times EV EBITDA, right? So it's sort of reasonably valued over there. And like, see, pricing discipline is there irrespective of whether a company is listing or not, right? You essentially have a situation where there are two large players who own roughly 40% of the market each. The third guy is relatively weak, so he would sort of follow any hikes. So I don't think listing itself is the only reason. The industry generally is sort of quite conducive. The industry environment is quite conducive for hikes in the coming years.
Okay. All right, Gaurav, we're going to let you go on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's any kind of incremental buying which we could see for Vodafone. The India Mobile Congress also kicks off today. So that would be something else to watch out for in the telecom space. But